You don't need motivation. You need what we're going to share with you today. So if you're sitting there, they go, I'm not motivated. I have a hard time with motivation. I'm going to help you answer that question today. But before we do that, let me ask you a quick question. And I don't really want the polite, safe answer, the one you probably tell your friends. Like, let's talk about the truth. The one that's in your gut. How long have you known? Like, how long have you known that uh, you're capable of delivering way more than what you're currently producing? How long you been carrying that quiet, heavy, incredibly uncomfortable feeling that the life and the business you're running right now is just a fraction of your real story? Has it been like a year? Has it been 5 years? Has it been a decade? Look, I've been doing this forever. Not forever. I've been doing it for about 20 years. And here's what I know as a fact. It's not that you don't know. You probably know. I can almost reassured you know. The gap between where you are today and where your potential says you should be, it shouldn't be invisible to you. You see it every morning. You feel it every night. You've thought about it more times than you'd ever admit out loud. And the problem isn't that you lack awareness. The problem is that the gap just hasn't hurt bad enough yet. So if you're new here, I'm Spencer Combs, the Defiant Coach. I've spent more than 2 decades coaching entrepreneurs and high performers to smash through the exact ceilings holding them back. I literally wrote the book on it. It's called Momentum and Mastery. Looks like this. You can get it on Amazon or you can just go to momentumandmastery.com. This is Spencer Uncensored, episode 120. We're doing our third deep dive in our Drift to Drive series. And this is literally the entire framework for moving someone from drift to drive. We talk about that in the momentum part of this book. So we've covered dream, we've covered desire. And then today we're talking about the only factor that actually forces human beings to move. And that's disturbance. So let's just say something out of the gate. I tell private clients all the time, and I need you to hear this like it's the first time. You don't need motivation. You heard me say that at the top. What you need, what we all need, if we're looking, our goals require, it's probably a better way of saying not need, right? Our goals require emotional leverage. So motivation is a feeling, right? And feelings do fade. You've been motivated before. Hell yeah. You've had that Sunday night surge of energy, right? We're going to crush this week. Or that January 1st clarity, that post-conference fire. You know what I'm talking about? When you go to a conference somewhere and you're like all pumped up, and when you swear to the Lord and everything around you that this time it's going to be different, and then Tuesday shows up, motivation is going to vanish, and you slide right back into the same patterns, the same comfortable habits, and the same exact ceiling. That's not a character flaw. That's just what motivation actually does. It was never actually designed to sustain a change. It's really only designed to give you a temporary spark, activation, if you will, and nothing more. So emotional leverage is completely different. What you need is completely different. Leverage happens when the cost of staying where you are becomes infinitely more painful than the cost of making the change. And I don't know what change you're looking to make right now. Just understand, if you're not making a change and you know you need to make a change or your goals require you to make a change, you haven't got there yet. It's when managing that gap is no longer an option because you refuse to tolerate it for one more second. So that pressure doesn't fade on Tuesday. It's going to build, and it builds until something breaks. And what breaks is the exact behavior that's been keeping you comfortably stuck. Now, disturbance is how you create that leverage on purpose. We go through the whole thing. So deliberately, you don't wait for a life crisis to disturb you. And that can happen. Think about how many times people have gotten themselves healthier because of a diagnosis of some sort. Or think about how many people actually have changed a lot about themselves because of a divorce or a relationship situation. You build disturbance before the crisis forces your hand. So rather than wait for a situation like that to build up, you can take control and do it for yourself. Because let's be honest, the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Cultural gravity is going to manage your pain down for you if you're going to let it. It's going to take that raw, uncomfortable gap between who you are and who you could be, and then it's going to convince you that it's a perfectly reasonable distance. Like that's okay. It's going to whisper to you that you've earned the right to stop pushing so hard. It'll tell you that this level where you're at right now, it's good enough. It'll say things like, hey man, look around. Compared to everyone else, you're actually doing great. And then unfortunately, you'll believe it because it sounds like wisdom and even feels like maturity. But it's not. It's not. What it is it's drift. And drift is the most expensive thing you're ever going to choose. Think about it. Excuse me. What that drift is actually costing you. I'm not talking about the bank account necessarily or even the business metrics necessarily. I'm talking about in life in general, right? Every year you spend below your potential is a year you're never going to get back. Think about every relationship that got you, that got your leftovers because you were pouring all of your energy into a business that isn't working the way it should. Another example, think about every morning you woke up feeling low-grade numbness instead of excitement, and you called it normal, like doing the grind, got to get back to work, got to make the donuts, whatever random phrase people say these days. Think about every dinner where someone asked how things were going, and you just smiled and were like, fine. And you answered with fine because the real answer was too heavy to get into. I don't want to unpack all that. That's the cost of the drift. That's what cultural gravity steals from you. One comfortable, tolerable day at a time. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a tragedy. It just feels like life. And then the longer you stay in it, the more your ceiling starts to look like that ceiling becomes your sky. Like that's where I'm going. So let me ask you again, with all of that fresh in your mind, how long have you known? If the answer is more than a year, if you've been staring at the gap for over 12 months and haven't changed, motivation isn't coming to save you. You don't need more inspiration either. You need to get disturbed. You need disturbance. So let's get specific. Disturbance isn't a generalized concept. It's personal, by the way. So and cultural gravity actually keeps you trapped specifically and entirely on how you are personally wired. So we use personality assessments and things of that nature to help us understand our clients. It's a really good tool. These are all good tools to help you understand yourself. We like using the Enneagram for specific parts of what we do. Enneagram, it's a framework. It's an ancient old framework that maps out core drivers and fears. So we do use Myers-Briggs at times, and we've taught the DISC thousands of times. Those are all good for different contexts. But the Enneagram really helps people understand what it looks and feels like when I am feeling secure and what it looks and feels like when I'm feeling stressed. And so it uncovers a lot of things about us. So inside our programs, we see the drift patterns map almost perfectly to all 9 of the types. But we're not going to have time to go through all 9 of them here today. I'm just going to pick 3 that statistically have the highest number of people that would be watching this kind of video and is entrepreneurial or in the business of some sort. So we're going to talk about these 3 because they show up much more in these entrepreneurs and high performers more than others. So the first one, this might be you. If it is, I would love to hear from you. The first one's the achiever. This is the performance drift. This is what drift looks like for you. From the outside, your life looks flawless. You got a great track record, probably massive results. Everyone respects what you've built. But here's a question you've been running away from for a while now. Are the goals you're chasing actually yours, or are you running 100 miles an hour down a track someone else built just to get applause? That's probably going to fade the second you stop running. And that could have been laid out because of a societal thing. Um, could have been a family situation, right? Parents, who knows? The disturbance mirror for you to interrupt the pattern and get yourself more, get the leverage you're looking for looks like this. How deeply does it disturb you to realize you might be chasing someone else's version of success? You could literally hit every single goal on your whiteboard and still feel completely empty because you've never figured out what exactly matters to your soul. So don't rationalize that away. Feel it. That discomfort, that feeling, that's your leverage. That's your leverage right there. You feel it? Yeah. So maybe you're not that person. Maybe you're not the achiever. Maybe you're the enthusiast. Maybe you're the enthusiast, and you have more of what we call a distraction drift. So you have more ideas before breakfast than most people have all week, right? So that you got the energy, the vision, the constant possibilities. It's a superpower, honestly. But look at what's happening underneath the surface. Every single time a project gets heavy or the work stops being exciting, and it requires you to kind of grind through the boring, unglamorous execution. Yeah, I've been here. Have you been there? You're going to find a new shiny object in that situation. Typically, a new pivot, a new direction. Not because the old thing failed. Well, we didn't even give it enough time. We go and do something else because depth is uncomfortable and you keep choosing width instead. So here's the mirror for you. How deeply does it disturb you to realize that your constant pivot to the next big thing is actually just a defense mechanism, one that helps you avoid depth? That your dreams are staying shallow because you keep taking the exit ramp right before the actual breakthrough. Let that land. Don't talk your way out of it. AI has been very helpful for me in that regard because I'm fairly prolific with coming up with ideas and thoughts and getting things moving. But you got to see that stuff through. And when that stuff shows up, you got to get disturbed enough to realize I'm not that shallow. I'm a lot more, there's a lot more depth here. Don't talk your way out of it. You're going to have to focus and stick with something and see it through. That's number two. Number three that we're going to talk about is the challenger pattern. It's the defiance drift, which is unusual considering we talk about stay defiant. Some people come to me and it's like, oh yeah, stay defiant. And you think that being defiant means defy everything all the time. That's not necessarily true. What we're looking to do is defy cultural gravity, the intentional or unintentional drift. These people, the challengers, the hardest one to hear, uh, it's because it looks like strength. You handle things all by yourself. You don't need help. You don't lower your guard and you push through walls on your own terms. And then that grit built everything you have today, but it's also the exact ceiling keeping you from where you need to be. So the next level cannot be built alone. Your refusal to be vulnerable and to ask for help or to build a real coalition, that's not strength. That's just isolation wearing a cape. So if you want to get disturbed with this discussion, if that sounds like you, like lots of bravado, and it's not always men, by the way. Sometimes it's women. It's a strong sense of control. How deeply does it disturb you to realize that your extreme self-reliance is actually just a sophisticated form of fear? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the elephant in the room. The person who needs no one can only build something to the size of one. You could have had everything you want if you were just willing to stop, proving you don't need anyone to get there. Sit in that resistance. That's going to be your leverage. All right, so those are those three. I don't want to just leave you here. Well, let's talk about how to actually build emotional leverage for yourself. I have an exercise. So in the book and inside several of our programs, including the Unshakable Weekend, we run an exercise called the 100 Reasons Why. Now, look, to do this right, you need space, you need time, and the right environment. So we do the deep work in the book, but I'm going to give you kind of the core engine of it right now so you can use it today. Take this specific challenge or figure out the gap where you're at. And then take the specific emotional fuel, and I want you to grab a pad of paper. I like to use yellow pad, and do it on paper. It works way better than just computer because it's free flowing. But if you are much more digitally minded, that's fine. You can use a tablet or a computer and just break out a new note and start writing things down. It's fine. But you're going to write down 3 quick questions, and I'm going to explain to you what these 3 questions are and why they're important, how they form the necessary leverage. Why must this change is number 1. Why must I be the one to make it happen? And why must it happen right now? And then you're going to start writing. You're going to push past the first 10 answers. Those are just the easy, superficial ones. You're going to need to go deeper, connected to your legacy. I know that when I did this, somewhere around 35 to 40-ish or somewhere in there, I got so disturbed, I had to get up and go for a walk. You want to just keep pressing through. You want to connect it to the people that depend on your success. Connect it to the person you see clearly at 3 o'clock in the morning when the world is quiet and you have to look at yourself in the eye. You can also write down reasons for what would happen if you didn't do these things. Write down all the reasons why it must be done, why you're the only one to get it done, and why it must be done now. You write out 100 reasons, not because 100 has some magical number, by the way. It becomes a sheer discipline of clearing that bar. That way it forces you past your ego and directly into the place where your true emotional leverage lies. I've said this too before. You guys have heard me say it. If it doesn't juice you, it will not move you. It's got to have an emotional energy to it. When you get to that place, when you write your way into the absolute intolerable truth of what the drift is costing you, you're not going to need anyone to motivate you. You're gonna have something built that creates leverage for yourself. So when we talk about threshold and we're talking about all of this, it's to create disturbance to turn it into a permanent ironclad decision. And 3 things have to be simultaneously true. They got to come together, all 3 of them. And those are those 3 questions you just wrote down. So number 1, it must be done. The change becomes non-negotiable requirement. The version of you that doesn't do this is a version you are no longer willing to tolerate. It must be done. How do we give ourselves enough reasons? Reasons come before results. So how do I give myself enough reasons that this must be done? That's criteria number 1. Criteria number 2, I must be the one to do it. The full weight of responsibility is going to land on your shoulders. There's no excuses. So you can't be blaming the market, the economy, your team, or even your past. You're the only one. I remember standing on the bank of the Caloosahatchee River, talk about it in the book too, looking at that and saying, you know what? That's it. This is it. Things are going to change. My life is not going to be the way it is right now. Because I knew it had to be done. I had all kinds of excuses and reasons, and some that were legitimate if you were talking to a therapist. But at the end of the day, I'm still the one that had to make the changes. And then it's got to be done right now, not starting on Monday, not some other date, not next quarter, right? So it must be done and it must happen right now. The urgency must be immediate. Okay. So delaying feels like a loss, not patience. You gotta bring it much closer to you. When those three things align, when they snap into place, if you will, you're going to cross the threshold. You've probably been there before. There's been a place in your life where things just you finally hit a threshold and you're like, it's got to be done. It's got to be done right now, and I'm the only one that can get it done. And that decision is exactly where we're headed to next week. Okay. So, but right now, this is what I want you to leave with. You don't need another pump up speech. You need emotional leverage. And you can build that today. I just gave you a very simple framework for it. So don't wait for something to break. Don't wait for a crisis to ruin what you've built just to wake you up. Go deliberately into the discomfort of your gap. And then look honestly at what the drift has costed you. Write down the real reasons until staying the same becomes completely intolerable. The defiant don't wait to be disturbed. They choose it because they know that a comfortable drift is a more expensive mistake than they can make. And that ceiling you've been living under, that's not the sky. So if you're ready to go deep with this, you can go to momentumandmastery.com. You can grab the book, right? The full disturbance chapter and the complete 100 Reasons Why framework. So it's free plus shipping right now. So you can go get it. It's like 11 something. Then take the next 5 minutes and hit the the free defined assessment at unshakablesecrets.com. It's going to show you exactly which pattern is running your shadow side and where cultural gravity has its hooks in you right now. So make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Next week, we hit the decision. We're going to talk about the fourth final factor in this whole conversation of drift to drive. It's the massive line between a wish, a hope, and an unbreakable commitment. Unshakable commitment, really. Everything we've built in this series lands right there. So I'm Spencer Combs, the Defiant Coach. Stay defiant, and we'll see you next Wednesday.